Many diabetics struggle like crazy to bring their A1C score down one single point. Maybe they're getting numbers like 6.8 or 6.9, and they'd love to see that score come down to 5.8 or 5.5, but they can hardly find a way to make that happen. In this video, I'm going to share an interview I did with Ken Woolard, who reduced his A1C from over 14 to 5.0, a reduction of 9 full points. How in the world did he do that? Check this out. Well, I'm happy to have Ken Woolard with me, and he has an amazing story to tell. Ken had incredibly high blood glucose levels, and wow, he has done so much to bring those down. Now, Ken, let's talk a little bit about how you first discovered you were diabetic. A lot of people, it's a very gradual thing. For years, the doctor keeps telling them you're getting a little worse and you're pre-diabetic and you're getting closer to being diabetic. And after several years, he finally tells them, you know, you're officially diabetic. Was that how it was with you, or was it a more immediate process where you suddenly discovered you had real problems?
Well, I was moving on with my life, and one thing I had was severe fatigue all the time.
Okay, you were exhausted all the time.
Right, and when I ate, I had what I would call food comas. I could feel my nervous system clicking, and I just wanted to collapse and sleep when I needed to be alert and do my job and perform in life.
Yeah. And you didn't have any idea what was going on, I'm sure, at that point.
Well, I got tested for food allergies and stuff.
Okay.
I had a doctor change my diet and everything. I also took a glucose tolerance test.
Yeah.
That right before the last drawing of the blood, I passed out. So the last vial of blood, when I passed out, I don't know what the results was, but my blood sugar in the half hour prior to passing out, my blood sugar was like 62.
62. So it was actually, your pancreas was overproducing and you had some insulin resistance going on, and apparently it was just driving it down.
Right. I was eating pasta and all that stuff, eating a lot of carbs and stuff. You know, you'd feel tired and you'd eat junk and you'd get tireder.
Yeah. Well, you get an immediate boost for an hour or so, and then you start feeling worse, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's
jerking
than
up and
that.
down. Okay, yeah.
I was so tired. I was so tired I didn't know how I was going to make it in life.
Wow.
After I had all those tired spells, I changed my ways a lot. And I didn't have them anymore. But one day my dad said, he was a diabetic. He said, "Come here, let me check your blood sugar."
Okay.
So he tested my blood sugar, and the meter clicked down, and all of a sudden a big H appeared on his glucose monitor. And then he informed me that my blood sugar was so high that it wouldn't register on his meter, and his meter went up to 500.
Wow. Now, 500 is just incredibly high. It was just like with mine when it read LO low, that meant it was probably below 40. And, that's way dangerously low. And when it reads an H for high, that means, like you say, it's probably 500 or more. What did you think when your dad told you that? Did you immediately say, I've got to do something about this? What was your reaction?
I thought about it, and I went the next day. I bought myself some food, and I was going to start eating right. But then all of a sudden, I changed my mind, and I shot out to the VA hospital, and I went to the emergency room.
Yeah, which is probably a smart thing to do.
They checked my blood and everything, and a little while ago, I just looked at my results, and it was like it was 375.
Okay, now had you eaten just prior to that, or was that
no?
Fasting?
That's fasting all night long.
Wow, fasting blood glucose level of 375. Correct. And you had gone as high as 500. You weren't fasting at that time. But, I mean, those numbers are dangerously high. Did you realize just how dangerous a situation you were in at that point?
Well, I really didn't, but I knew I was in trouble because, they tell you got diabetes. And it was like I was shot emotionally out of a cannon, you know?
Right, yeah. When we hear that word diabetes, it is a scary word that nobody wants to hear, and suddenly you heard it. You weren't just borderline, they weren't just telling you you were pre-diabetic, they were saying you've got it.
Yeah, and not only people don't want to hear it, they don't want to change their ways either, you know?
Well, yeah, sadly, that's often the case. It shouldn't be, but it was. But in your case, there were some major changes you made. Now, there's a great ending to this story, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but at that time, did you immediately say, I've got to make some serious changes and start looking around to say, what can I do? Or what was your attitude when you realized, yeah, I'm diabetic, I'm seriously diabetic?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the first things that kind of happened to me was one day my dad got a flyer in the mail. And of course, my dad, he's diabetic, and this is a brochure selling something. He says, this is for you. You need to look at it. And he had some helpful advice, and I'd like to share one thing that he said that I remembered most definitely. He said, if you eat breakfast cereal, limit it to twice a week. But if you want to do the right thing, eliminate it all completely. And that's what I did, because it's junk. It's refined carbohydrates. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and even the whole brand breakfast cereal is still going to raise your blood sugar tremendously. A lot of people assume, okay, I won't eat Lucky Charms, I won't eat Trix, but I'll eat Wheaties or I'll eat, Bran Flakes. But they do just about as bad. So you had some good advice there. And somewhere down the line, you began to get more and more serious about cutting your carbs. Tell us how that happened.
Well, I was watching one thing that got me. I read this book by this medical doctor. I ordered another book offline. And it was like $40, and I forget the name of the guy's book. But anyway, one of the pieces of advice he said was live by the glucose monitor. So I recognized foods that would jack up blood sugar.
Yeah.
Now, another thing, I'm smart enough to look at the glycemic index of foods, and I know that there's foods that are really low in, the glycemic index. They don't have a high glycemic index.
Right.
I want to share something with people, too, is that there's this doctor that wrote a book called Eat Right for Your Blood Type.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into that diet, but I'm type O, and if you look at the O blood type food list, all those vegetables and things that he lists on there are like low glycemic foods, like Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, artichokes, asparagus, things like that are good for you.
Yeah, and those kind of vegetables, you can pretty much eat almost unlimited. I mean, obviously not quite, but you can eat a lot of those and still it's not going to do much to your blood sugar. So you are on the right track there.
Right. And I'll share this. If you went to Costco and for almost $5 you bought a 3-pound bag of broccoli flowerets, the whole bag only has 32 net carbs in the whole bag. So that's a lot of grub.
You can. It's wonderful to realize that, and not only that, but vegetables are healthy for you. They have a lot of vitamins, a lot of nutrition, a lot of nutrients. But of course, you can't just live on vegetables, at least most of us can. And so you had to figure some other things out, but you were definitely being led the right direction by being steered toward these low glycemic, low carb vegetables. What else did you find out?
Well, one thing I found out was about the ketogenic diet. I understood the physics of it. And you're eating high fat, moderate protein, and very low carb.
Yeah, tremendously helpful for diabetics.
And I learned from Dr. Darren Schmidt that what would help you when you ate a diet like this, if you ate a 2-to-1 ratio of fat to protein plus carbs.
Okay.
So like if you ate 10 grams of fat, your protein plus carbs would not be over 5. That would be like a 2-to-1 ratio, for example.
Yeah.
And there are some food. Yes, sir.
Now, I know what some people are going to say. Yeah, all that fat it may help with your blood sugar, but you're going to clog up your arteries and you'll be dead of a heart attack in a year's time. Were you afraid of that at all, or how did you reconcile that?
I wasn't afraid at all. And let me just share a short story with you. Last March, I went to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And we went for exactly 2 weeks.
Okay.
And while I was in Hawaii, I ate low carb, high fat, moderate protein. I ate bacon and Portuguese sausage and eggs for breakfast, sometimes a little bit of cheese on my eggs.
Yeah.
And I ate like that. A couple times we'd go out to eat, but not that much, because I would go to Sam's Club and Walmart and buy food. I'd get a rotisserie chicken and stuff.
Okay.
But while practicing my dietary habits, I would eat up to and over 1,000 calories a day in macadamia nuts.
Whoa!
Now, macadamia nuts have about 23 grams of fat in an ounce. So I'm sure I was eating over 100 grams of fat in just nuts. So let me share this with you. The taxi driver that took us to the hotel from the airport, we called him up and he drove us from the hotel back to the airport when we left.
Yeah.
And we're driving down the road and he looks at me and says, "You look like you lost weight."
He had driven you before, and how long had it been since the last time he saw you?
It had been 2 weeks exactly.
Okay, 2 weeks' time, and he's telling you look like you've lost weight, and you're eating all this fat and all these nuts.
Right. And so when I got home, I went to my wellness center, and I weighed in, and I lost 10 pounds in 2 weeks, and I didn't even know it.
Wow. And you weren't even trying? You weren't expecting it? Just happened?
I was not even trying.
Yeah. Wow. And a lot of people are experiencing the exact same thing, and we're realizing that fat is not our enemy. Sugar may be your enemy, refined carbs may be your enemy, but fat really is not your enemy, as long as it's a healthy fat, and certainly nuts would qualify, and the truth is a lot of saturated fats would as well. So, all right, so you got pretty heavily into the low carb, higher fat lifestyle and diet, and you started doing some things that have become recently popular, like I believe you started doing some intermittent fasting, right? Where you wouldn't eat 3 meals a day anymore for a while. Is that right?
You know, one thing I started doing, and I liked it, and I've really grown to love it, is just OMAD, 1 meal a day. 1
meal a day. How can you live on 1 meal a day?
And it's easy. And let me share something with you.
Yeah.
I eat at the big buffet at Golden Corral 3 days a week. So when I go there for my 1 meal a day, 3 days a week, I'm at the buffet.
All right.
And so, you know how people
pretty
eat
much
at the buffet.
eating, you're getting yourself very full, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't stuff myself as much anymore, you know?
But you're probably not eating the desserts much, right?
Oh, I don't touch them at all. You know, I was at my aunt's house, aunt and uncle's last weekend, and my cousin came in from out of town, and she brought a pound cake. I wouldn't touch it.
Okay, yeah. Smart
homemade
man,
pound
smart
cake.
Man. Yeah. So you had heard this. It sounds like you watch a lot of YouTube videos and have done a lot of research, reading. You've done something really good, Ken, and that is you've thought seriously and done your homework about this whole issue. And you started out at 500, the first test, and then you found you had a fasting glucose of 375. How long did it take once you got really serious about cutting those carbs before you saw some really much better numbers?
Well, everything is all, you start changing immediately.
Immediately.
Yeah. When you live by the glucose meter, you don't eat stuff that jacks your blood sugar up. Right. And of course, your blood sugar comes down, your weight comes down. Sometimes it takes a while, but after a while, somebody will look at you and they'll say, gosh, you look like you lost weight. When I went to the VA hospital, and I was there this morning and had my physical, I went last week and got my blood drawn. And the lady who did my vital signs and everything, she looked at me and she said, "Wow, you look wonderful," because she recognized me from 6 months ago. Now that my weight is down, I'm alert, I'm awake, I'm conscious, and I understand the consequences, and I feel so much better. I don't have sugar cravings or anything. Wow, you know, before, can I share something with you?
Yeah,
This is the trap that a lot of our friends out there are getting into right now.
Okay.
And this is the gospel truth, and you've known it, and you've seen it before. You got our friends out there that are taking their diabetic medication, And guess what? They're going to say, I'm only going to cheat once today. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'll do it once a week. They'll eat a piece of pie, a piece of cake, a piece of candy, some ice cream or whatever. And then that becomes a habit, and then that starts a cycle again. And then you're cheating a little bit every day, and you end up cheating nobody but yourself.
Yeah. Well, Ken, one of the statements some people make is, I have to go easy on the sugar. I have to take it easy with desserts. But, I mean, to me, that's like you're being attacked by a bear and saying, I have to go a little bit easy here. No, you don't go easy on sugar and desserts. You get radical and cut them off entirely if you really are in serious trouble and need real change.
Can I share you? I'll share this with you.
Okay. There's
a very important word when you have diabetes.
Yeah.
And when I say it, you're not going to get it. Okay. I'm going to have to explain it to you. You're going to be thinking, all these people out there, it's called moderation.
Yeah.
But there's another phrase that goes with it. Moderation will kill you.
If you're in a fight for your life, moderation is the last thing you need to think about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you go talk to a dietitian, they're going to say, oh, you can have a little bit of this and a little bit, but moderation. I listened to a doctor's video. His name's Dr. Ken Berry. He was talking about giving a video on metabolic syndrome. Okay. He said, hey, I'm going to go look up WebMD and see what they say. Well, he looked up WebMD, and what they suggested, if you had metabolic syndrome, which is the biochemistry of diabetes in action, is to eat whole grains and fruits.
Yeah.
And you don't want the whole grains. You do not want the fruits.
Yeah, that's been the standard advice, and the standard result is you take more medication, you start taking insulin, it gets worse, it gets worse, it gets worse. And you saw numbers, you've been getting more and more serious about this. It's been a progressive thing for you to learn the things you needed to learn. Right. And just today, you had blood work done and you got the results of that. And you've told me, I talked to you earlier, and you told me some wonderful news about your A1C and so many other things. Give us a little hint of what kind of A1C you had and some of the other numbers.
Well, my A1C was 5.0 today.
5.0. That's not even pre-diabetic. That's just what you'd call normal. I mean, maybe a teenager could beat that, but that is awesome. For someone that was in the 400s and now you've got an A1C of 5.0, well done, my friend. What other numbers did you get?
Well, I'll share this with you. My cholesterol was 152.
Wow, that's not bad at all.
My HDL was 59, and my triglycerides, no, not my triglycerides, my LDL was 89.
Okay. And do you know your triglycerides?
They were 49.
49. Wow. Folks, did you get that? Triglycerides, 49. And all the research is saying these days that triglycerides are more important than just a total cholesterol or even your cholesterol numbers. Well, let me ask you this. You have done an amazing job by the grace of God, and you've gone from incredibly high diabetic numbers to non-diabetic. Basically, go back a few years, you are Ken the diabetic. Today, you are Ken the non-diabetic, not even close to being a diabetic. You've obviously found some answers, and that's why we're doing this interview, is to share those answers with others. But let me ask you this, you've had to change your diet. There's no question about it. You cannot just go on the way you've been going if you've been diagnosed as diabetic. Do you think you're going to have a hard time following the diet and keeping your numbers low, or do you think there's a chance you'll slide right back up into being a diabetic again?
There's no way I'm going to go off the wagon because you just feel so good.
Yeah.
And so here's another thing. This month I'm going to be 63 years old.
Okay.
And I used to weigh over 300 pounds.
Yeah.
And today I weighed in with my clothes on at 220.
80 pounds. And it wasn't even that hard for you, was it?
No, it wasn't. And I feel so much better now. You know, before I was bloated, my face was swollen. You know, had all these daggone tired spells. I had abdominal distension.
Now, the fatigue that you mentioned earlier, how you were constantly tired, that's gone.
Right, that's completely gone.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, well, Ken, we're going to conclude this by letting you just talk straight to the audience, and let's especially concentrate on people who've just discovered they have diabetes. Give them an encouraging word.
Well, folks, I want you to know that you can do something with your life, and you can change it right now. Watch videos, learn, read a book, learn from other people's experiences. There's plenty of foods out there that you can eat. If you want to follow a ketogenic diet, do that. I mean, you can eat boiled eggs and eat avocados. There's all kinds of things you can do. You can eat boiled eggs and eat a handful of macadamia nuts. When you increase your fat and drop your carbs and you get into that fat-burning zone, then you're not going to have all the problems because you're going to be burning fat. And I saw a woman on the Today Show. She was a reporter for the Today Show, and she said one of the reasons she tried to start the ketogenic diet is for its anti-cancer properties. So while your body is burning fat, you're burning ketones.
Right.
Here's one more thing. This is one thing I never forgot, and plenty of people saw it and they forgot or didn't pay it no mind. I turned on the TV one day. It was a 700 Club. They said, we're going to have Dr. Michael Rosen on. Dr. Michael Rosen came on. He's Dr. Oz's buddy. They write books together. And this is what he said. We now know what causes all these chronic health conditions that people have as they get older. And it's inflammation caused by bad fats and sugar. And so if you don't want to end up like some of these older people are now, you got to control this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Ken, and God bless you. And you are going to be a blessing to many, many people. We appreciate you taking the time to share your story.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm glad to help somebody, and I hope a lot of people see this and get some help because it can be done. Thank you.
Okay. Wasn't that great? Ken's story is an amazing testimony to the wonderful truth that most type 2 diabetics have a lot more control over their blood sugar and their A1C score than they realize. By working with a good doctor and taking the right steps, you can bring that A1C score down, down, down. And it starts with getting that nasty sugar out of your life and reducing the carbohydrates in your diet. Hope you enjoyed that. If so, give it a thumbs up so YouTube will recognize its value and rank it higher in its search engine, and more people will be able to see it. And consider subscribing and then clicking on the little bell icon so that you'll be notified every time we post a new video. Well, that's it for now. God bless, and see you in the next video.